Everything else, I think I did
Jesus.
inside of our high school, in addition to outside of our high school.
Okay.
Yeah.
I wanted to make that clear to the listeners and viewers.
I didn't only get high in high school, like in school.
In the walls.
If it wasn't between 7:58 and 3 p.m. Monday through Friday, Will was not doing it.
Listen, it's 7:20 somewhere.
Millie makes songs, hey, I made this one. Jerry builds bikes and they go real fast. They're mental defectives.
Welcome to the Mental Defectives Podcast, a show where we interview interesting individuals with a focus on addiction and mental health. I'm your host, Millie Graham. That's Millie if you know me, Mr. Graham if you owe me. Joined, as always, by the Geraldo of Harleys, the gearhead with a heart of gold. It's Mr. Jerry with a G.
Glad to be here.
And today we have a very special guest. He is a writer, director, filmmaker, storyteller. His most recent film, Children of the Moon, was the official selection of multiple film festivals. He is a BJJ master. He is the bass god himself. It's Mr. Will K.
What's up, guys?
Will, how's it going?
Good. You know, you do look like Geraldo Rivera.
Ooh.
I never put that together.
Is it the mustache?
Mustache, facial structure.
Fair.
Yeah.
I'll take it.
It's good.
Oh, thanks.
He's not great, but good looking guy.
Appreciate that.
Yeah.
Will, where are you from?
I grew up right down the street from you, Matt. I'm from Worthington Hills, which I guess is part of it is Columbus, Ohio. So the part where I grew up is technically in Columbus, Ohio. And yeah, about 30 seconds in a car from where you grew up.
Nice.
Yeah.
And that would circle back to how we not first met, but how we first reconnected. William here ran up on me at a meeting, got all up in my face, was like, didn't I you used to buy weed from you? And then we had to go the whole rundown of where did you go to school, when were you in school, blah, blah, blah. And what we determined, I think, was that you didn't actually, there was no hand-to-hand sale.
Oh, no, that's not true at all. I buy weed from you all the time.
Wow, dude, you don't remember?
No. You were one of my main guys for a little while.
But was it through?
No, you.
Because I had a runner. That's how big time I was. Mark the Shark.
No. It was direct skin-to-skin contact, if you will.
Ooh, the best.
Yeah.
Son of a bitch.
Yep.
Did you ever buy shrooms off me?
It was either you or one other guy whose
Please
name
give
I'm
his full
blanking
legal
on.
name and date of birth.
Yeah. But the first time I ever did shrooms was inside our high school as a freshman.
Oh, shit.
So
Why?
that was actually the most fun I ever had on mushrooms. Was that first time
Awesome.
In, what was that? Mr. Cave's World History?
Oh, Lord.
Yeah.
Was that the teacher that they put the acid in his coffee and he had to stab himself with a pen?
Uh,
That was a thing.
Get out of
He
here.
stabbed himself in the leg to like break the trip or something, which is not how that works
That's-
at all.
No.
It's not?
Not to my knowledge.
No.
But it's funny, like, so the first time I did mushrooms was the best time I ever had on it. And then of course, being myself, I tried it a couple more times and every other time was fucking a nightmare.
Oh,
yeah.
really?
No,
Yeah.
I kept doing it,
Oh.
but it always sucked. Yeah, I would like do way too much.
Oh.
Even when I didn't do too much, I don't know. This shit's whack.
My experience was never that.
Always good?
It was always good.
Oh.
Yeah, I always had a great time on them. I don't know. My dog's hair turned to pixels and shit. It's cool.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
No, maybe even the next time I like ate a quarter. I was like lying down in the fucking, the cul-de-sac in front of my house. Not a good time.
I just remember laying on my buddy Greg's futon, and I was the only one still up. Is the middle of the night watching Pete and Pete, if you remember that show,
God.
and being like shook,
Yeah.
like legit, like frightened. I don't know how much I must have eaten way too much. Okay, so we're jumping ahead.
Yes.
How, and where? When did you first start
Fart?
When did you first start farting? And when did you first start drinking? When did you first start drinking?
So it's it's a Jewish tradition where 8-day-old boys get like a little thimble full of wine in a ceremony that I will not describe at all right now. So I guess I took my first drink at 8 days old.
Nice.
And then, yeah, I mean, I really started what I would consider, kind of my active years at 14, like probably shortly after my 14th birthday. I spent the night at some kid's house. We're on the other side of the tracks. We went out. We like found this. There was like a Toyota van full of like older kids from the school, and they were inside smoking weed. Yeah. And that was my first time, and really, I knew from that very first time getting blazed that like, this is what I want to do every second of every day for the rest of my life. And that's what happened. I only ever smoked weed. Forever.
The end.
Yeah. And now
Well, that's our time. Thanks so much,
Anyway,
Will.
yeah.
and then I became a successful entrepreneur and investment banker. And so pretty much right after that, so that was freshman year of high school. Like I mentioned, I also I pretty much did every drug I could get my hands on, and I was probably fucked up inside the walls of our vaunted high school more than I was not. I was not like a weekend warrior. I was not a not a binge user. I was like a all day, every day type.
Same.
Yeah.
Yep.
And pretty much, I think I did every drug I ever tried inside of our high school, except for heroin, meth, crack, and bath salts. Everything else, I think I did
Jesus.
inside of our high school, in addition to outside of our high school.
Okay.
Yeah.
I wanted to make that clear to the listeners
I
and
didn't
viewers.
only
It's like,
I didn't only get high in high school, like in school.
In the walls.
if it was between 7:58
Right,
and
right.
3 p.m. Monday through
Yeah.
Friday, Will was not doing it.
Listen, it's 7:20 somewhere, right? Yeah, so I really pretty much immediately became like a daily drug user. The drinking was never like a, I'm sure you hear it all the time, but it's like drugs were easier to get
Yeah.
Yeah.
when I was like fucking 15 than alcohol was.
Which is so crazy.
Isn't it?
It's it's 100% true, but it's just like so ass backwards. Like,
Right.
Yeah, very, very crazy. And like, man, I thought I was so fucking grown back then. Like,
Oh, yeah.
And it's, I've been working on a film, documentary, since like fall of 2020. We've been shooting since August of 2021, set in a high school. It's about kids who go through this like recovery-based high school. And Jesus Christ, like I was a tiny fucking child back then.
yeah.
And it is horrifying. Just like the fucking crazy shit I was doing very, very young, with really like little to no regard for, my own safety, my own health, let alone that of anybody else.
Oh,
you
yeah,
know?
sure.
I mean, I came like this fucking close to like shooting Windex.
Ooh.
Because I heard it did something.
You got to
Yeah.
get clean somehow.
Yeah.
And that's got to be the
Yeah,
fastest
you know
way
what?
to do it.
I could have come in at 18 had I shot that Windex.
We'll definitely do a deep dive into that story later on because I have to know about it. Okay, so you're in high school.
I'm in high school. I'm doing, smoking weed every fucking day inside the high school, outside the high school, underneath, like in the ravine under the all the fucking time. And then, like, I don't know if it was like this at all schools, if it's like this at, whatever. Like, obviously things were like if not safer, then much less dangerous back then, just because like fentanyl, like, oh, that was the shit you heard about in like patches for cancer patients and like, you know, fucking fentanyl lollipops for cancer patients. So that wasn't around.
Yeah.
Needless to say, we are practically boomers at this point. But, you know, fucking kids would walk by and they'd have like, oh, I have these pills. It's like, what are they? I don't know. You want them? It's like, yeah, sure. I was a fucking drug trash can, man. I'd be, you know, I remember like blowing 100 milligrams, like first crushing like the little beads and then blowing 100 milligrams of Adderall in freshman year study hall, just like up in the fucking, in the back.
Ooh.
Yeah, I was putting it down.
What I would do, I would pre-crush my Adderall before school.
See?
Put them in a contact case.
Nice.
I had my before school and then my like my post-lunch pick-me-up,
Yeah.
which I needed at 15, 16, 17.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
How are you going to get through Algebra 2?
Exactly.
Right.
For the second time.
And speaking of, you know, I used to be pretty good at math. I'm not now, but I think I burned that shit off. But it's, yeah, as my drug and alcohol use increased in a linear fashion, I think my interest in and ability with mathematics declined. So, yeah, I was on the advanced math track, let me tell you. But by the time, oh man, a year or two before I got clean, I took the GRE just for fuck's sake, the whatever, the grad school version of the SAT, and I did not do very well. I had been up on speed, so I like went in like still like post tweaking or whatever. Yeah. And I went in, and they ask you math questions. I'm not trying to go to fucking math school.
Yeah.
So I could remember the letters of the formulas. Still can, in fact. Did you know that y equals mx plus b?
Everyone knows
Matt
that.
and Jerry? Yeah. I don't know what that means, but I know the letters. So anyway, didn't do well on the GRE. And then eventually, when I did go to grad school, I only applied to one, and it did not require the GRE.
Oh, nice.
Anyway, yeah, so did a shit ton of drugs in high school. And then, you know, because we are men of a certain age.
Extremely early 30s.
And we're from,
the mean streets of Columbus, Ohio.
We're from our greatest state, Central Ohio.
Right.
By the time, okay, so before I got hooked on oxys and then dope, I had a little like high school crack phase.
A tale as old as time.
A high school crack phase.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whatever. Don't need to go too deep into that, but I did. So I'd like drive and like get a little high before like whatever fucking early period class I had senior year. And then, you know, like I was saying, we're men of a certain age. I am younger than Matt. I think I'm older than you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah. It's my youthful glow.
Right.
Throws you off. I know.
Just get to the goddamn point. Stop fucking jerking each other off over here. Oh, Jerry, you're so hot and sexy. No, Will. Your thunder thighs are giving me a chub.
I was talking about my own youthful glow, but yes, Geraldo does have his own version.
Okay.
Anyway, you know, I had always been a big fan of, you know, opiate painkillers. And then I guess I kind of discovered, like, the big dogs, a.k.a. Canadian Oxy 80s, my senior year. Like, the end of my senior year. Like, the green ones. I don't know if I ever did.
What was the letters on them?
Fuck.
ABGs?
I don't remember.
OCs? OPs?
I remember they were green and they were Canadian.
I think ABGs.
Did they have an accent?
It was ABG.
I used to tell people, because they not a lot of people were seeing ABGs in Ohio at that time. And so when I would sell them to people, they'd be like, "Oh, hold on now.
Yeah.
What's this ABG thing?" I was like, "Oh, it stands for absolutely best generic." They'd be like, "Oh, no way, sick. I'll take 3."
Wow.
And I was like, "Yeah,
Absolutely
sure."
best
Like,
generic.
completely bullshit. I don't know. It was dumber that I thought people would believe it or that they believed it.
I think
But they were the best. They were the best generic, though. They were the best generic.
Yeah, I mean,
Right.
you know, it did the trick.
Yeah.
Spent, you know, all of my graduation money on, which, whatever, not a ton, but like I just like spent every fucking penny I ever had on these, and you know would like grind them up on like the what is that, a hose clamp?
Hose
thing?
clamp.
Oh, yeah.
Hose clamp.
Back before I became a real man, when I was still doing nose drugs. And then, like really quickly, just because like that shit was expensive.
Yes.
And then, you know, somebody turned me on to black tar heroin. You know, back in my day when dope was dope, back when we had real heroin, none of this fucking fentanyl shit. Yeah, and I think the second time I ever did it, I shot it, and you know, and that was like kind of the stakes of my active addiction had been like, you know, ratcheting up, and then that, like, you know, that was a real jump. I think the first time they told me some like fucking wacky way to do it. It's like, well, first you like mix it with water and like rub it around on a plate, and then you like scrape it up with a penny, and it was like, this is fucking stupid. Let me just, you know, let's get to the chase here. And then like very quickly I got sent to my first inpatient rehab in the summer between high school and college. You know, also back in that time, it was very popular among suburban parents to send their kids to a wilderness program.
Oh shit!
Yeah.
Yeah.
If there's anything I know about you, it's that you love the wilderness.
I love the wilderness. I will have you know, a Boy Scout, a second-class Scout.
Good for you.
At that, were you an Eagle Scout?
I am an Eagle Scout.
Oh, excuse me. I am a second-class Scout. What is that? The Live Free or Die?
No. What is it, Chris?
Live Free or Die Hard. Excuse me.
Live Free, Die Hard?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. That's the
Bruce Willis Die Hard sequel.
It's not. It's the Boy Scout motto.
Oh, okay. Excuse me.
No, the Boy Scout motto is be prepared. Sorry.
Be prepared to live free or die
Yes,
hard.
you're right.
Anyway, yeah, went to the wilderness. Yeah.
What out in Oregon or?
No, it was middle of the summer in North Carolina and Tennessee.
Ugh.
Ooh.
Yeah. It was hot. Yeah, and you know, that was like, man, I thought, oh, geez, that was like my first detox too. I'd been,
Sweat it out.
well, I'd gone to like three maybe outpatient rehabs in high school. Shockingly, adolescent outpatient treatment did not get me sober.
Oh wow!
I know.
Did not work for me either.
Yeah. Who would have thought? But you know, it's like,
no one knows at the time. The parents
right.
have no
Also,
idea.
like,
The kid doesn't.
They gotta
you know.
fucking do something.
Yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah.
I am a total fucking piece of shit, and you know, doing tons of drugs every day. So it's like, yes, they have to do something, and like, no, they're not just gonna like let me fucking smoke weed because it's, you know,
Right.
just like the undeveloped brain. What a thing.
The Mental Defectives Podcast is brought to you by Milligram's new EP, More Is Always Better. 6 electrifying tracks available on all streaming platforms.
How long were you in the wilderness program?
2 months, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then what happened after that?
I got home. I immediately got high. And then a week later, I went to college.
Nice.
Right on.
Yeah.
And this was in Ohio, or are you in New York for college at this point?
I was in New York. I was in
Okay.
the county above New York City.
Okay.
And yeah, and somehow I managed to get into this like film conservatory, which is truly the only way that I was able to finish school. Is I had like tested out of almost all of my gen eds because I still had like my test taking lobe back then. And yeah, I took 2 non-film classes the entire time I was in college. And so this is, you know, besides getting fucking high, like film is the only thing that I have ever really wanted to do. So yeah, you know, and needless to say, like I wasn't giving it 100% there. And I was, you know, I got put on like multiple types of probations, you know, academic probation, like film program probation, you know, like wasn't doing so hot there. And it's like I would go out there, whatever, smoke a bunch of weed, do whatever I could fucking put in my body, drink, all that shit. And then when I would come back, like as soon as I touched down in Columbus, I'd be on the phone with, you know, with a dealer back here, and, you know, trying to get back to it. And then it's like I would do it just long enough, or like just for a short enough amount of time to where I wouldn't get sick, or I would like, you know, make sure to have some Suboxone, something. And then, yeah, then when I was a junior in college, we like discovered where you can get dope in a town in New Jersey. So then I spent all year, you know, essentially driving across state lines with like hundreds of prepackaged bags of dope.
Just some normal everyday felony
Yeah,
activities.
yeah.
Bro, I went to treatment with a guy from Delaware, and he had so many felony counts of drug trafficking across state lines. They hit him with like a RICO, a kingpin charge, and he was just like you, like just like a.
Yeah.
I live in Delaware. I have to cross 5 fucking states to get dope and come back. So it's like, damned if you do, you're damned if you don't.
And it's like I wasn't even like I was never a dealer. Like I would get it for the dealers, and for my efforts, I would like get thrown some. Like I never had the fucking, you know, the atom of self-control that it took to like not do all the drugs. So yeah, so you know, whatever, some legal trouble, some shit.
Is this when you jumped out of a window?
No, that's like actually right before I got sober.
Okay,
Yeah.
can carry on.
So needless to say, I was not doing so hot by the end of that year. You know, I was living off campus. My bedroom was just like scattered with these like wax paper bags of, you know, that's I guess what they sell dope in on the East Coast, instead of just like a wad of tinfoil or a balloon. Balloon if you're getting real fancy.
Right.
And so, you know, I hadn't seen my folks in a little while, but they could tell, you know, go fucking figure, that I was not doing so well. So that summer, I went to rehab. So 2010, I ended up in rehab 3 times that year, the same place. And, you know, thank God for my folks, and, you know, just for my lot in life, right? Like, they had the means to send me, and they didn't fucking give up on me. So that first time I went, I was like, oh, let me talk to these young women in this treatment facility, and like, you know, throw in some chewing tobacco during like the dopamine midbrain reuptake cycle lectures that we would sit through. You know, and it's like by that time, sure, yeah, like maybe I had a problem with dope, but like I could certainly do everything else. I mean, I literally told my fucking counselor, like, I'm not gonna say I'm not gonna drink a beer every now and again. It's like, man, fucking.
It's like, young man, you were in here for some way different kind of stuff.
Right. Yeah. So I got out, my drug use went to new heights. You know, was like shooting a gram of tar every day. Not great. Went in again. Lived in like a 3-quarter house in Niles, Ohio. Really great town. Really lovely experience. My bed was like the epicenter of the bed bug infestation of the house. And the fucking woman who ran it, she didn't believe me. So I had to like catch a bed bug, put it in a bag, go take it to her.
Yeah.
How do you catch a bed bug?
Very carefully. With, you know, and at that time, I didn't have the athletic prowess that I display before you today. So, you know, a lot of discipline, a lot of training. Anyway, got kicked out of there for using, homeless for a minute, as you will. Went back to rehab again. And then after that, I lived in a Christian sober living community, a notorious Reynoldsburg-based Christian sober living community.
Yeah.
Who shall remain nameless?
Called Summer Rays.
Oh,
Ooh,
who
got
will
him.
not remain nameless.
I think that dude is on the run from. I think he made like.
Will wants all the smoke.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean,
whatever,
he was
like,
shady as fuck.
He
dude.
was not a great guy. And also, I'm pretty sure he's like the last person they ever like ran out of the city limits. Like they brought that back just for this guy. Pretty sure he's in like Alabama doing the exact same thing now.
Nice.
Whatever. Did meet a very good, close friend there. My boy John, who will actually remain nameless in this, but good friend of mine. He, you know, he's been doing the deal ever since then.
Nice.
Let's just say I was not feeling the Christian sober living community for a number of reasons. I mean, the biggest reason is like I did not want to be clean. I did not want to get sober. You couldn't tell me shit. You know, I was on fucking felony probation at the time. You know, and I was so short-sighted. It's like the only thing I could see is like, oh, am I gonna like go back to college? Like, am I gonna to finish this thing that I started? But like, I could have fucking died, you know? Like,
yeah. Gone to
obviously,
prison?
I had a year in jail hanging over my head. You know, but anyway, so I started doing what you could call bath salts because I was on felony probation and I was living in this Christian sober living community as a non-Christian. I don't even think this dude realized that like there were people who weren't Christians out there anymore.
I was going to say, it's like you don't want to be sober. You don't want to be Christian either. Like, what the fuck am I doing here?
Yeah.
Right.
But I also had like no real world survival skills. So it's like, well, I guess I'm going here. So this guy, he took I was a curiosity to him because I truly think that he was under the impression that like, you know, it's like, well, if we came from monkeys, why are there still monkeys? And it's like, well, if Christians came from Jews, why are there still Jews? You know? So I think he thought that we had all like kind of leveled up and.
Oh, so he's going to get you sober and get you to convert.
Or something. You know, he had many motives, if you will.
Fair.
Yeah, so anyway, because I was in this environment where at least you were supposed to be sober, and I was, you know, thanks to the Franklin County Municipal Courts, which I do credit, like that may have actually saved my life, you know, like getting me to get off dope for a while. And so anyway, I started doing, you know, internet drugs, and I actually was able to convince people that I was doing better, you know. And I made it. I moved back to New York, finished college, moved to the city. But, like, I had no fucking...
The city is what the East Coast elites call New York.
The
big city
of New York. Yes.
Yes.
I moved from the county above New York City into New York City. And continued doing drugs, and that's really when, like, my drinking really picked up.
Now you were off dope at this point.
I was off dope and
doing bath salts.
Yeah, bath salts and some like ketamine or whatever,
Right.
and alcohol.
Yeah.
And holy shit, I was riding that I'm off opiates thing hard.
Yeah.
I had an opiate sobriety day. Let's
Yeah.
I'm still always shocked at people that can like graduate college or do something that it's that long of a time before getting sober.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it was film school, you know. It's a real film school, but like there were not a lot of academics that I had to do. I made a pretty cool documentary. By that time, I'd realized that, like, I don't like actually being on film sets. So if I want to make movies, but I don't like being on film sets, what do I do? And it's like, well, I guess documentary. And by that time, I'd started, but I thought documentary was like very boring as an idiot child. And then it's like I started watching some really interesting ones. The one that I think really changed my perspective on the form was, and this is like a very like male answer, but "Gimme Shelter" by the Maisels Brothers and Charlotte Swearin, about like the Altamont concert with the Rolling Stones, and then seeing stuff by like Jem Cohen, and I didn't have like the widest breadth of documentary viewing or knowledge or fucking whatever at that time, but I realized how interested I was in that. So anyway, that ended up becoming like, I kind of pivoted my at that time extremely unreasonable goal of being a filmmaker. I mean, it's a difficult thing to do if you're a normal person, but I was like
whacked out on bath salts.
I was a fucking scumbag.
Yeah.
With like no reason to think that I could fucking do this shit. Besides like, whatever, some innate ability to fucking like breathe and take tests that I coasted on for years through earlier years of school. Anyway, so I was living in New York, drinking a shit ton, doing the salts, not doing so hot. Eventually I moved, and the thing that brought me in, the thing that got me back to Ohio in the summer of 2013, so somewhere around 11 years ago, I guess, is I'd been up for a little while, and I jumped out so I was living in like a second story apartment, but there was like a garden level apartment.
Just before or after the Windex?
Oh, the Windex, this was long after. I think that's when I was like fucking, maybe when I was like 18, back when I like thought I really,
oh, okay.
Man, I got it. I am down bad at, 18. Holy shit. Right. And not to say, I've met some kids who are fucking down bad. Like, granted, like I was doing intravenous heroin at 18. Like I wasn't doing great, but but things did get worse. So
it always get worse.
Yeah, it gets worse. It's like oh fuck, like what? I didn't have any money. I didn't have any drugs. I was like looking around the house, like wow, what? And Googling like household items that can get you high, or like AskJeeves.com, like Jeeves, household highs, or shit like that. So
Okay, so you're
So I remember hearing that if you shoot Windex, you get like some kind of rush, and I remember just like looking at the cleaner cabinet, like, should I do that? Like, I know it has ammonia in it. Would shooting ammonia kill me?
I'm gonna say it would. I don't know if it would kill you. It would definitely guarantee you an ambulance trip to the hospital.
Not feel good.
Yeah. Well, I didn't do it. That was like
Kids
the one.
don't inject household cleaners.
That was maybe the one solid yes or no choice I made. Is not doing that shit.
Yeah.
But I was like shooting Bacardi, like
Like some real Motley Crue shit.
Yeah,
Shit.
you're getting like benzos and like propylene glycol. So like they make vape juice or whatever out of propylene glycol.
Yeah.
So I was getting like benzos dissolved in that. I would shoot that, and that's like honey consistency.
Ooh.
So yeah, I mean, I was I was a fan.
Okay, so you're in New York.
Anyway,
So you're in New York. You're living in a 2-story.
I'm living so you know what a garden level apartment is? It's not a base. It's like a half basement.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like a recessed ground.
Yeah.
So it's like I live on the second floor. Obviously, it's concrete down there. Yeah. And so and for some reason I still wear Vans. I was wearing Vans. Not great shoes.
Shout out to Vans, future sponsor of the show.
Yo, hit me up. But so I jump out the second floor window 2 consecutive days, and on the second day in a row, I broke my heel.
Ouch.
Which is a pretty, it's an accomplishment, you could say.
Why were you jumping out the window in the first place?
Because I had been up for several days injecting stimulants into my body. And, it seemed like...
Faster than taking the stairs.
It seemed like the thing to do.
I love that there's like no reason behind it at all.
No,
like that's the best part.
So then I remember hearing, feeling whatever, my heel make a little pop. And so like I was that guy, like crutching around New York with like scrubs on under my clothes. Not doing so hot. So, I took like it was $50 at the time. I think maybe it's like $60 or $75 now. You can take a bus from Chinatown in Manhattan to the Greyhound station, downtown Columbus, overnight. So I landed back here. I was crutching, and that's when my liquor drinking really skyrocketed, right? Because I was living back with my folks, and it was just it was easy to get. I was like 25, I had just turned 25, and so I would like drive down to the local liquor store, get like the foolproof but plastic bottle of vodka, so if I dropped it, I wouldn't like shatter a glass bottle.
Yeah.
Right.
And I started drinking a fifth of liquor every day. Which is not that good for you.
Right.
I probably, at the end, I probably weighed 15 pounds more than I do today, and not 15 pounds of muscle,
Right.
I probably had a solid like 30 pounds of just like liquor bloat going on. I remember like when I finally got into rehab, it was like it was difficult to like reach down and tie my shoes. They don't tell you that if you're gonna drink a bottle of liquor every day, you have to not eat, or you're gonna gain a bunch of weight. Yeah, you got to pick one.
Right.
And I wanted it all. I wanted to have it all, boys.
Will K, the man who wanted it all. That's the tagline for this episode.
That's my story in the back of the book.
Okay, so you're drinking a fifth of liquor a day. Sounds like you're eating 3 square meals a day.
Yeah.
Back home with the folks.
Yeah.
Broken
Living it up,
heel.
Really thriving.
Living it up.
How do we dig our way to this bottom?
So Man. So I was, So there's this, it was like a proto Uber Eats food delivery service called Cafe Courier, based on Bethel Road. It's now like a gun store. Anyway, I was, wisely working as a delivery driver while also drinking a fifth of vodka every day.
Smart.
Yeah, really cool of me. And then, that was like a really, really cold winter too. And I would make like enough money for like gas and booze. And that was it. Not doing so hot. And I got fired for like sleeping in, not showing up to work because I was fucking drunk. And, I remember like around this time is when I was starting to realize like, man, my life is fucked up. Like, I mostly got off dope. I graduated college, but like I'm back here living with my folks, making terrible money as a fucking delivery driver. Like, not even good money as a delivery driver, like really bad money as a delivery driver. And I was starting to realize, like, oh, this is my fault, isn't it? So one day, I woke up, and I got to they call it like the jumping off point. And I was sick, whether I drank or whether I didn't drink. By that time I was like physically dependent on alcohol. Mm-hmm. So I went to the hospital. I got medically detoxed. I remember looking up at my dad as I was laying on the neurology floor of the hospital, because you could fucking die from alcohol withdrawal. I had a little pulse ox thing on my finger. I was like in the hospital gown. I was like, Dad, I got this. And he informed me that I did not got this. And I went to my fifth and so far final treatment center. Nice. And sometime in the first 30 days, when I got sober, I did not want to be sober. I had no intention of getting sober, let alone staying sober. Not interested. No, thank you. I just couldn't imagine a life worth living without that. But sometime in that first 30 days, I acquired the willingness to like give a new way of life a real try. And that sense of willingness has completely changed my whole life. I've been sober now for a bit over 10 years, and I would say the difference between my life now and when I had 1 year is almost as significant as the difference between when I had 1 year and before I got sober. Like, my life is really fucking different.
Wow.
From, what I get to do for a living. I'm no longer delivering food for Cafe Courier. It's like my entire outlook on life. How I interact with the world and interact with other people. It's like I always wanted to be the kind of guy that like people would trust and like want around, and I always wanted to be a good friend, but it's like I was also like stealing from people and like shooting drugs and not exactly performing esteemable acts. So I wasn't exactly setting myself up for success.
Right.
Whereas in 3 days, I'm officiating the wedding of a really close friend who I, work with in a sober capacity. And it's a crazy change. It was a crazy thing.
No more jumping out of windows?
Been a minute.
Hey, Mental Defectives.
Are you getting married?
If so, we can officiate your wedding for the low, low price of $500.
You have to be in Ohio.
Because Jerry and I are both licensed ministers in the state of Ohio. If interested, email us at mentaldefectivespodcast@gmail.com.
Now let's get back to the episode.
So you get sober. How does film re-enter the picture for you?
It took a while. Honestly, I could barely watch movies for a couple of years. Because when I got sober at the fucking ripe old age of 25, like I thought I had ruined my chances of pursuing, the one type of, I don't want to say the one thing I've ever cared about, because I care about many things, but like the one like endeavor that I've ever really cared about. So I tried to really put it out of my mind for several years. My first sober job, I started as a meat clerk, and then
Nice.
and then I became a meat cutter. So I was a man of the meats for a couple years there, and I for a second there I thought I wanted to be a butcher. I thought I wanted to be breaking beef.
But now you're Breaking Bad.
I know that's right.
Hell yeah.
But I don't know. And parts of that job were pretty cool. Cutting like giant, like cow ribs and like strip loins on a bandsaw. Like that's pretty tight. Learn how to cut steaks, like from
A big old hunk of meat.
From like a primal cut of a cow. That's cool. Working in like a 40-degree room every day kind of blows. And customer service is not really my thing. Let's just say that's not a job for happy men. Emphasis on the happy and the men. Very, very male and very. I mean, like, I get it. Like, it's cold as fuck. So I'm
cutting all that out.
No.
Anyway, so then I was like, well, maybe I want to like, I don't know, be a fucking counselor or like go into psychology or something. So that's when I took a job in a 50 cent raise when I jumped over to working in a treatment center. And I know a lot of people talk shit on rehabs, and there's a lot of fucking real gross, janky rehabs out there. Because, where money and sobriety intersect, like, shit gets weird.
Yeah.
For sure.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That said, I got sober at a rehab. They help a lot of people, whatever. So anyway, I became a behavioral health technician at an esteemed Central Ohio institution. Let's see, I worked. Yeah, the first day I got there, a coworker, a buddy of mine, who's now a counselor, tossed me the keys to the 12-passenger van. He was like, "Your turn to drive." And it's like I'd never driven anything bigger than a fucking minivan, so that was a learning experience. Were you in the car when I hit the cat?
No,
What?
I was not.
All right, well,
no, I was
anyway,
not.
So this is where I met Jerry.
Yeah, I was in on this whole
Jerry,
You're
adventure.
a cat murderer.
Yeah,
Jerry is
Feline homicide, if you will.
one of my former proteges
Yeah.
at the facility.
yeah, good times.
It was a good time.
It was.
Yeah, so I worked three second shifts, and no, 4 seconds and a third. So I would just sleep for the third shift, and then drive the guys to the treatment
Yeah,
activity center, because they all lived in a house. It was actually like a really cool, and I think overall pretty successful. Back when it was like a small scale thing, I think they had a lot of success, because
do
honestly,
too.
like,
Yeah.
fucking, I see
Yeah.
like a lot of guys that were clients
yeah,
back when I worked there.
Mm-hmm.
And the odds are low of like coming into your first rehab and getting it. But whatever, you can do it. 1,000%. No reason anybody ever has to drink again. But it's like I see these guys coming back around, coming back into like the sober community. and it's really fucking cool. And it is like truly like one of my great joys in life is like seeing these guys that I, you know, back when I was fucking 27 or whatever, back when I was a kid, when I had like 2 or 3 years sober, and now like they have been sober for years, or they're coming back into the orbit and like trying to get their shit together. That's fucking awesome. So, you know, I got promoted from like the behavioral health technician to the supervisor of behavioral health technicians. Whatever. I learned a lot from that job. It was cool. It also cured me of wanting to be a counselor or a therapist or anything.
Oh yeah.
Real quick. So then I was like, you know, a couple of people inspired me to like try and go to fucking grad school for film. And, you know, back at that time, I still had a criminal record. I was able to get that shit expunged because, you know, I'm white and middle class, honestly.
That'll do it.
Right.
That'll do it. But back when I was applying to schools, you know, I still had a felony record. Anyway, schools. I applied to one school. I remember I was looking at a program and I saw the letters GRE, and then I closed that tab and I never thought about it again. And there's only, back in 2016, 17, when I was applying to schools, there were really only like 3 or 4 programs in the country that, grad programs in the country that specialized in documentary. So I ended up going to, and so I applied. I had to check the box, you know. I got an interview and I got in. And so I fucking moved to Chicago. I got into this program outside of Chicago. And, you know, and there have been a million like really crazy, wild, unexpected things that have happened that you know, that I've been fortunate to get to do in these past 10 and whatever years of sobriety. But it's like, I was convinced that I would never make a movie again, you know, because, you know, by 25, I had fucked my chances up.
Right.
So do you make a film in grad school, or is this after grad school?
Yeah. So we, yeah, let's see. I mean, my first quarter, they're still in the quarter system. My first quarter, I made like a short.
Was it Scent?
No, that was a poorly chosen name for my my undergrad thesis film.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've got some poorly titled songs, so I'm not.
Yeah.
I feel you. I feel you. At the time, you're like, oh, this is fucking hard.
Names are hard. Names are hard.
Yeah. Okay, so talk about. I want to hear about Children of the Moon, and like the film festival process, how that works.
Oh man. So I had, I mean, way back before I got sober, a friend of mine and he grew up in the Unification Church, which is more commonly known as the Moonies.
Okay. Oh, okay.
Yeah, so they have a really big presence on the East Coast.
Yeah.
They still own a lot of property in Manhattan. They own the New Yorker Hotel. They own the Hammerstein Ballroom. They own the Manhattan Center. Like, you know, a lot of property around Madison Square Garden. Mm-hmm. For whatever reason. So this film, you know, it was about people our age, you know, second generation unificationists. So their parents had joined in like the 70s or the 80s during like kind of the Jesus freak years. Because, you know, the unificationists, that whatever, Reverend Moon, I forget a lot about the...
We don't want to spoil it for the people that haven't seen it yet.
Right.
No, it's just like it's been a while since I've thought about like the theology of the Unification Church. But he proclaimed himself the second coming of Christ, you know, as one does.
Typical.
Right.
Yeah. So anyway, the film is about second generation people who were born into the church.
Yeah.
And then at a certain point made the decision to leave. And it's, you know, and it's like, how do you change your entire fucking life, you know? And it's like, And I came at it from the place of growing up in like pretty hardcore drug addiction, and then at a certain point having this, having a series of turning points, and then changing my whole fucking life. So that was kind of my entry point into it.
And this did. So what's it mean when it's the official selection of a film festival? Because I saw it's like a half a dozen.
Yeah.
So you break it down for us. You make a film.
So
you select a topic, make a film, submit it to film festivals. It gets in. Yeah.
So. And so this is for like short films, right? Like film festivals. I imagine make most of their income from like short film submissions. Anyway, so it's like you finish the film. All right. Well, how are people going to see the movie? You could put it on YouTube. What does that get you? Most of the time, nothing. Right? Yeah. Like the idea is, but it's maximally accessible. Right?
Right.
Free. Here's the YouTube link. Great. But unless it's like a viral sensation or the algorithm like plucks you out of a hat or something, it might not, likely won't, further your whatever, your filmmaking career or anything like that. So it's an interesting thing, like the distribution of a short film, like, because unless you get nominated for an Oscar, your shit's not playing in a movie theater, for a short film for sure. And even then, it's like some movie theaters do play like the Oscar nominated shorts, and it's very, very cool. But it's like, so where do short films go? One of the answers is film festivals. So, you do a little writing about the film, you upload it to like these like submission hubs, and then you pay the entrance fee, because a lot of that is how film festivals like keep the lights on. And then from however many hundreds or thousands of submissions a particular festival gets, it's like they have like programming priorities in general, and then like specific priorities for the year, which like oftentimes filmmakers are not, we're not privy to like what they're
looking for that
right.
year.
If that specific year, right? And it's like, so anyway, my film was able to play at a handful of festivals, and that was really cool. I mean, most of it happened during COVID, so virtually play at some festivals, but it was a really, really gratifying experience that, to have, strangers from all across the country and or world be able to see this stuff that I had put a lot of like time and a lot of myself into. And then, I ended up back here. So I was living in New York pre-COVID, post-grad school, pre-COVID. And I ended up back here the week before the pandemic happened, actually. And I had planned it. I was like, all right, came back here in like mid-March. I was like, let me just chill until like after Passover, which was in April that year. And then I'll go back, and then, and then I'll like kind of see what's happening. That did not happen because the world had shut down.
Right.
Right.
So I was here, I was working remotely, and one of my best friends and I decided to, we came together and we decided we wanted to make a film. That was the original idea. It's like, let's work together. We had been really close friends for years.
This is your boy Max.
Yeah.
Shout out to Max.
Shout out Max.
And this is the current film you guys are working on.
This is the current film.
And
right on.
Can you talk about this film?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, okay, great.
Yeah, I'd love to. So
lay it on us.
we were thinking, it's like, so what do we have access to? And it's like, well, I do know like a lot of very interesting people interesting degenerates like myself who have done this. And then I realized, through a friend of a friend, in a sober friend of a sober friend, started this high school for kids to go and get like exposed to recovery, and that sounded really interesting. And I really, I didn't know a ton about it before I got there.
Yeah.
And obviously we weren't filming in 2020. They were remote, but by August of 2021, I started filming there, and I filmed mostly as a one-man crew. Sometimes Max would come out and run sound. Sometimes I'd have some friends, sober friends, come and run sound for me, or my younger brother, one of my two younger brothers, Jack, who's actually a very talented filmmaker and photographer himself. He's helped me run sound, or like drive when I was like, fucking hanging out a moonroof with a camera or something. And and the kids, 3 kids kind of emerged as our main participants, in addition to Jen, the recovery coach there. Mm-hmm. So like the recovery, like kind of the head of recovery activities, because first and foremost, like it is a school, like they do like computer-based classroom stuff. There's a teacher. There's like one teacher. Very small school. Like, and I don't know if they've.
It's like 10 kids.
Yeah, around 10 kids.
Because I was working with the kid from that school, and they got in trouble for smoking weed on the bus.
Oh,
that
was the whole fucking thing. Yeah.
And I'm like, well, if you're gonna smoke weed on the bus, you got to do it way in the back. They'll never see you. A bus has
a big
50, 60 kids on it.
No, we're talking
and he's
about
like, well, there's only like 8 of us. I'm like, you fucking dumbass! Of course you're gonna get caught. Like,
right.
There's only 8 people. You can't hide in a crowd of 8 people on a small thing.
I'm sure it seemed like a good idea at the time.
Oh yeah, I totally would have done that if I was in his shoes. Easy.
So I filmed there for the 2021-2022 school year.
Mm-hmm.
And then after, in the summer 2022, I moved back to New York. And then I spent, a third of 2023 back here filming. Mm-hmm. So 4 months out of last year. Truly nothing more satisfying than paying New York rent and living with my parents at the same time. A true gift of the program, as they say.
Right.
Get sober and you two can make amazing decisions like this.
And then, this year, I don't know. I've maybe been back here like 5 times this year. I don't even know at this point. I would have to add it up. But well over 100 shoot days. Not like full 8-12 hour shoot days, but it's like, well
100 days of pulling the camera out, rolling sound, all this stuff.
Yeah.
Hey, Mental Defectives, would you like to advertise on our podcast?
If so, email us at mentaldefectivespodcast@gmail.com so we can help you make a lot of money.
Now let's get back to the episode.
All right. You guys wrapped principal photography?
So I'm gonna.
That's a fancy film term.
I was
know.
gonna say,
this guy.
Wow.
This guy's been around the block. You could say got a multi-cam setup going here.
2 cams is multi.
Yeah. Sounds like more than one to me. Next Wednesday, a week from today, will probably be the last shoot.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
And so this is following 3 kids in their journey through recovery high school?
Yes.
And then when...
At a certain point, we kind of leave the walls of the high school and we just go out in the world and see their lives outside of the school.
Nice.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
I mean, they're fucking incredible kids.
Yeah.
And is this looking to get into film festivals?
So,
what are you planning to do with this once it's completed?
Right now, we're in the process of applying for grants. We have a great, really amazing executive producer, Aaron, who has helped us through the business side of things. you know, she's I don't want to speak too much on her, but she's a very successful filmmaker. She's been there, done that. Really believes in the project. So she's helping us through kind of like the funding, the business stuff. We are currently applying for a bunch of grants. We're open to, you know, a number of options. If you want to contribute to
Plug away.
documentary feature newcomers, get at me. And you too can make a probably tax deductible donation to American independent film. Wouldn't that be nice?
That's perfect.
Yeah. Anyway, we're applying for grants. We have had some meetings with major production companies, like major platforms. Because of the state of the market, things aren't really selling right now. I mean, I think the strikes had a big part in that. And even though we're... I don't remember when the strikes ended, but we're like almost a year. They ended in the fall, so we're almost, we're 6+ months out from the strikes. Like, work has not returned to the level of pre-dual strike industry, so things just aren't really moving right now. So we've redoubled our efforts to applying for grants. We are going to apply to the ITVS track, which is essentially it's PBS. So they would, if we get this, they would co-produce the film. They would fund it, and then it would go into PBS. But yeah, I mean, likely. We are trying to premiere at a film festival. We're trying to go on a festival run, and then, sell distribution rights to a major streamer. We want to get this thing seen. Unfortunately, unfortunately, this film is not getting any less relevant.
Definitely.
Right.
Yeah.
Sure.
I would certainly fucking trade this film for fentanyl to not be like ravaging this fucking country, but that's not what's happening. So, yeah, I mean, it is a pressing social issue. These kids are fucking incredible, and they've just been like so generous with their time and just like really brilliant insights, and really funny. I really. Super proud of the work that we've been doing, and my friend Max is an incredible documentary editor. Like, I'm a good editor, but he's a really fucking good editor. Like, he's very, very good. So I've shot the whole thing. He's cutting the whole thing. We're working together.
So this one hasn't come out yet, but where can people see existing films you've made?
You can go to my website, will-klein, KLEIN.com. I think most of my stuff is up there.
I think there's 4 or 5 up there.
Yeah. That's the place to see my stuff. If you are in need of some commercial editing work, I got some... Cut that shit.
I'm gonna get you to edit this podcast.
No shit, right?
All right, so what
day.
What advice would you have for someone looking to get into filmmaking?
Oh, fuck. Watch a bunch of movies. And make a bunch of movies, Obviously, I liked film school so much, I did it twice. But and obviously, and I do believe in film schools. Like, someday I would really like to teach film classes at a college. That's something I was able to do some of as a grad student, and I've just had some like really incredible film professors. So, I mean, I do really believe in like, the theory behind the practice. But like, the best way to learn is to go out there and do it. And that is such a fucking annoying thing to say and hear myself say, because that's what everybody fucking says.
Right.
But really, it's like, you know, the way that I have learned how to best shoot this kind of documentary that I'm making right now, like, so it's broadly speaking, it's like an observational documentary, right? Like I'm
Right.
Observing these people, like a
Right.
fly on the wall or whatever. And in a scripted film, you would be able to have multiple takes, right? But with a single camera observational documentary, it's like I have to shoot what's called coverage, like multiple angles and shot selection. So it's like a really difficult thing to do. And the best way that I have ever, you know, learned how to do this, because it's like a very specific skill. It's totally different than like shooting on a set. It's like a very, you know, specific, and I said this many times, but like it's really fucking hard. So the way I learned how to do that is like, you know, input from my directing partner, practice, watching films, you know, and like noticing like, oh, what kind of shots, what's the rhythm here, and just doing it. And you know, and watching my own footage, and that is like the most painful thing to do.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, just like practice, you know.
So, what advice would you give somebody who's just freshly sober or trying to get sober?
Oh man, just like take advice. You know, follow the advice of people who have been sober longer. You know, it's like find someone who is doing the deal, and just kind of like do what they're doing. You know, I was fortunate when I first got sober. I made friends with a crew of guys. We were all about the same age. We had all been sober around the same amount of time, and like they were into doing the deal, so I was into doing the deal.
No
right?
doubt.
It's like, oh well, shit. My crew is into like, you know, like being an active participant
Yeah.
in our own recoveries.
Right.
You know, so, right. Cause like I am not interested in just not doing drugs and just not drinking alcohol. Like I really, really like getting high. I really, really like getting drunk.
Yeah.
Like just not doing that shit sounds like it fucking sucks. Right. I want a better life. You know, I want the changes that come with like an active recovery. You know, because if I'm just the same asshole that I was in 2013, but
Then what's the point?
Exactly.
Right.
What's the fucking point? Because I'm probably going to be even less happy, because the only solution that I had to my problem, it's like, well, I've forsaken that,
Yeah.
but now I don't have another solution, right? So,
Right.
So yeah, man, it's just like follow fucking directions, which is crazy to hear myself saying that. You know? And like 18-year-old me is
Yeah.
like, oh, fuck that guy. Like, I got
Right.
this, you know.
Right.
But it's really cool that like the solution is like very clearly out there. It's like whatever everybody's telling you the solution is, that's what it fucking
That's
is.
what it
Like, it's
Crazy how that
It's
works.
amazing.
really great. Like,
Right?
oh,
Right.
man, this has been around for how long?
Yeah.
Like,
Actually start listening to these
yeah,
people.
it's like, but it's such a relief that like, oh, I don't have to fucking figure this shit out myself.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
True.
You know, I don't have to. I don't have to.
I have to
invent-
reinvent the wheel. I just
Exactly.
have to
Right,
do
no.
what people
I don't
are
have
Right.
to.
suggesting
I don't have to
do.
discover anything here.
No.
It's
Yeah.
like there's a very specific set of instructions.
Yeah.
And so I can just like do this shit and like
And
talk
then-
to these guys, and like my life gets way better. Like that's weird. But that is how it works, as it turns out.
Hell yeah.
Well, Will, thank you so much for coming
Yeah,
on.
thanks,
guys.
What's the name of the new one you're working on?
The working title is Newcomers.
The working title of Newcomers. Be on the lookout for it. I'm gonna say it's gonna be on Netflix. You can check out Will's other work, will-klein.com.
Yeah, regular Will without spaces, Klein.com was taken. So
That's the one.
yeah, cut that shit.
And then, real quick before we get out of here, now, Will, you're on record saying that Ant-Man Quantumania is so good that it makes Godfather 2 look like Godfather 3. What did you mean by that?
Ooh,
That's
man.
all the time we have for today. This is the Mental Defectives Podcast. It's Milligram, Jerry with a G. Will, thank you so much for
Later,
coming on
guys.
here.
Thanks, boys.
We'll see you.